Hello everyone, good afternoon. I hope you guys are doing well. So we will be solving questions related to English literature. I hope you guys are doing well. Let me wait for others to join in and then we will be starting with the session. ठीक है, जल्दी जल्दी सब लोग join कर लो and we will be starting with the class. Till the time others join in, let me ask you one question just to warm up. So oppositional gaze is an essay written by which theorist? Can you tell me? Oppositional gaze, this concept was first developed by which theorist? Till the time others join in, the essay was The Oppositional Gaze, the Black Female Spectator. Let me see किसको आता है ये आंसर. Till then, this is the first question that we will be dealing. Oppositional gaze के बारे में किसने बात करी है? चलो स्टार्ट करते हैं अपनी क्लास. Read the following statements and choose the correct one. First statement, a mixed metaphor conjoins two or more obviously diverse metaphorical vehicles together. In metonymy, a part of something is used to signify the whole. Third option, the third statement, to scan a passage of verse is to go through it line by line and analyze its content, theme and diction. The term kenning denotes the recurrent use in the old Germanic poetry of the descriptive phrases in place of the ordinary name. Figurative language is often divided into two categories, tropes as well as schemes. Options are given to you as well. You need to choose the correct statements. The correct statements, देखते हैं किसको आता है. Correct statements आपको choose करनी है. They're talking about mixed metaphors, how to read the passage. Then they're talking about kennings, figurative speeches. So the right answer would be option A, D and E are correct. Let us analyze the answers first. So a fixed metaphor occurs when two or more incompatible metaphorical images are combined together, resulting in an incongruous and confusing expression. So ये mixed metaphors कहलाते हैं. This is true. Incorrect statement क्यों है B? ये भी समझते हैं. The description, a part used to signify the whole is used for synecdoche. वो synecdoche होता है जो होता है ऐसा figure of speech हमारा जिसमें हम लोग क्या करते हैं, part use करते हैं for and whole. अब synecdoche का example देखते हैं. For example, हमारे पास कोलेरिज की poem है The Time of the Ancient Mariner, where he for his comrades and for the other mariners used the term hands. तो क्या you literally using hands here for them? Hands denote the bodies of the people who are doing physical labor. That is why the word hand is used. You say I will be buying my new wheel. So you say that he is driving on 4 wheels. अब यहाँ पे ये wheels क्या दिखा रहा है? कार को denote कर रहा है. That is synecdoche. Okay, so ये तो गलत हो जाता है B statement. Then scanning a verse includes examining its metrical structure such as rhythm, stress, pattern, meter and not the theme, meaning and the choice. That is why वो गलत है. उसके बाद आप आते हैं kenning के अंदर, that is the D statement. It is the compound of metaphorical expressions like say whale road etc. ये सारे old English के अंदर use होते थे terms. So this is correct and E is also correct. In rhetorical figurative language, we traditionally recognize them as tropes and they are involved in the meaning. So tropes आपको meaning describe करते हैं and schemes as well. And इसका definitive structure भी होता है. Hello Manisha. So the right answer would be A, that is A, D and E. Okay, what does an eponymous character mean? Eponymous character कौन होते हैं? Read it and tell me the right answer. What do you mean by eponymous character? And a character that is essentially devilish in character or in nature. A character that gives his or her name as the title of the work, or a character that is very intriguing in nature, or a character that is superfluous in nature. Superfluous in nature. The ones who have joined just now, I also asked one more question कि एक और मैंने आपसे सबसे क्वेश्चन पूछा था कि ऑपोजिशनल गेज का कॉन्सेप्ट किसने दिया था, बिकॉज देयर इज अ बुक ऑल्सो रिटन विद दिस नेम ओनली, कॉल्ड एज द ऑपोजिशनल गेज, ब्लैक फीमेल स्पेक्टेटर. द ऑपोजिशनल गेज, ब्लैक फीमेल स्पेक्टेटर. एक वर्क भी है, इसलिए हम आस्किंग ये कॉन्सेप्ट किसने दिया था. ये कॉन्सेप्ट सब बताएंगे. हेलो अनामिका. सो इसका आंसर सबने मुझे क्या दिया है? मनीषा थिंक्स इट इज बी. लेट अस चेक. सो बी इज द राइट आंसर. गिव्स हिज और हर नेम एज द टाइटल. So, एक ऐसा character whose name appear as the title of the work as well. For example, Hamlet. Hamlet इसका example है, जो शेक्सपियर का work है Hamlet. Character protagonist भी Hamlet है. Then Jane Eyre. Jane Eyre ही हमारी कौन है? Main protagonist है वहाँ पे, और उसी नाम से हमारे पास work भी है. Next statement देखते हैं. Which of the following statements are true? Miscegenation is a sexual relationship or marriage between people of the same race. Creole is a language that has evolved from the Pidgin but serves as the native language of the speech community. Indian tribal people are popularly termed as aboriginals. Mulatto is a person of mixed white and black ancestry. Then you have the E statement. Australian indigenous population is termed as Red Indians. These are the options A, E, B, C, C, D, B, D. इनमें से कौन सी statements are true? Yes, Macbeth, Othello, Hamlet. And the right answer to the question I asked here is bell hooks. Everyone. बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट कॉन्सेप्ट है इनके बारे में, और इनकी बुक के बारे में सब पढ़ के जाएंगे. फेमिनिस्ट वर्क्स तो आते ही हैं. बेल हुक्स इज द राइट आंसर. सबसे पहले मेल गेज पर क्रिटिक किया था उन्होंने. किस पे क्रिटिक किया है इस वर्क के अंदर? मेल गेज पे क्रिटिक किया है. ओके, दिस इज बेल हुक्स. एंड अब आ जाते हैं यहाँ पे. विच ऑफ द फॉलोइंग स्टेटमेंट्स आर ट्रू? Okay, Priyam says B would be the right answer. Let us quickly see. So we have B and D that are true. So miscegenation refers to specification of interbreeding of marriage between people of different racial groups, not linguistic or cultural mixing in general. Okay, तो यहाँ पे क्या लिखा है? यहाँ पे लिखा था that is a sexual relationship. Wait, I think this is right. Miscegenation सही है ये तो हमारा, है ना? या आपने गलती से बेन ओकरी लिख दिया है. लेट अस चेक. सो ये सही है हमारा. क्रियोल. देन क्रियोल इज अ लैंग्वेज दैट इज डेवलप्ड व्हेन अ पिडगिन बिकम्स फुली डेवलप्ड एंड इज अडॉप्टेड एज द नेटिव लैंग्वेज ऑफ दैट पार्ट ऑफ द कम्युनिटी. दिस इज ऑल्सो ट्रू. देन एबओरिजिनल्स नहीं बोलते हैं, वी आर कॉल्ड एज आदिवासीज, तो ये गलत है. मुलाटो ट्रेडिशनली रेफर्स टू अ पर्सन ऑफ मिक्स्ड ब्लैक एंड वाइट एंसेस्ट्री. दिस इज ऑल्सो ट्रू. एंड ई स्टेटमेंट, इंडिजिनियस पीपल ऑफ ऑस्ट्रेलिया आर नोन एज एबओरिजिनल्स. सो द राइट आंसर इज बी एंड डी. इट इज बी एंड डी. B and D, right? But I think A भी सही है. A भी सही है और E भी सही है. A should be the right answer, है ना? I think इसके अंदर एक ऑप्शन यहाँ पे I think, अच्छा नहीं, ठीक है. We do have D as the right answer here. Okay. Okay, next में चलते हैं. Which of the following are the books of Noam Chomsky? नॉम चॉम्स्की की बुक. नॉर्म चॉम्स्की की बुक्स, यू हैव सिंटैक्टिक स्ट्रक्चर्स, the verbal learning and verbal behavior, language and society, aspects of theory of syntax, the pragmatics of politeness. The pragmatics of politeness. Yes, D is the right answer. कुछ गड़बड़, हम जो भी, अगर आपको लग रहा है कुछ दिक्कत है तो हम चेक करेंगे उसको एक बार फिर से, पहले इसे देख लो. नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन देखते हैं. Which of the following are the books by Noam Chomsky? Books by Noam Chomsky. Hello, wrong one. कुछ स्टेटमेंट में रॉन्ग पढ़ा था हम लोगों ने. विल गेट बैक टू दैट क्वेश्चन, नहीं तो टाइम मिस हमारा वो हो जाएगा, लैप्स. इसका आंसर दो. ओनली मनीषा सेज इट इज बी, दैट इज द राइट आंसर. किसी और को क्या लगता है व्हाट वुड बी द राइट आंसर? वी विल गेट बैक टू दैट क्वेश्चन. आई थिंक हमने कोई स्टेटमेंट्स दोबारा पढ़ेंगे. ओके, चलो. नॉर्म चॉम्स्की के वर्क्स, नॉर्म चॉम्स्की के वर्क्स, वी हैव द वर्क्स ऑफ नॉर्म चॉम्स्की हियर. So which of the following are the books by Noam Chomsky? Waiting for your responses. अभी तक मुझे आंसर्स नहीं मिले हैं. The works of Noam Chomsky. Select the following books that are written by Noam Chomsky. Syntactic structures, verbal learning and verbal behavior, language and society, aspects of the theory of syntax, the pragmatics of politeness. Okay, so syntactic structures is written by Noam Chomsky. Syntactic structures as well as aspects of the theory of syntax. Aspects of the theory of syntax. Can you tell me the dates? Syntactic structures 1957 as well as aspects of the theory of syntax. This is a work 1956 ka. This is also written by Noam Chomsky. So A and D. D would be the right answer. अनामिका ने आंसर दिया था. Yes, अनामिका, अभी आया मेरे पास आपके ऑप्शंस. A and D. अनामिका ने ऑप्शन आंसर जो दिए थे. So we have A and D as the right answer. You have verbal learning and verbal behavior. This is a work written by B.F. Skinner. This is by B.F. Skinner. B.F. Skinner and not by Noam Chomsky. Then language and society. Language and society by J.A. Hudson. He is a sociologist. J.A. Hudson. And the pragmatics of politeness by Stephen Levinson. Brown and Stephen and Levinson ने ये वर्क लिखा था. Stephen Levinson. Okay, so right answer would be D. The term isogloss in dialectology refers to what? The term isogloss, a word that has two meanings or two words that have similar meaning. The boundary line on a map separating areas with different linguistic features. A type of sound change that occurs at geographical level. A socio-linguistic variable. A socio-linguistic variable. What do you mean by isogloss? So isogloss B would be the right answer here, and Manisha wrong one and Anamika were right. I think North ने C कहा था, तो B right होगा. Isogloss is basically, आप क्या कह सकते हो, जब बाउंड्री लाइन जब चेंज होती है मैप की, डिफरेंट रीजन्स जब चेंज होते हैं तो लैंग्वेज भी चेंज होती है, उसके बारे में बात किया जाता है. Isogloss shows that people start and stop using specific languages when their boundaries also change. Okay, the pronunciation of the words, the grammatical forms, all of these things changes. Right? Okay. फॉर एग्जाम्पल कुछ लोग कहते हैं बकेट, कुछ लोग बोलते हैं पेल. सो अलग अलग टर्म्स हम अलग अलग ज्योग्राफिकल रीजन्स की वजह से यूज करते हैं. ओके, इसका राइट आंसर क्या होगा? सो एल्फ्रेड टेनिसन ने मॉड लिखा है ना, मॉड विच हैज अ सबटाइटल. Alfred Tennyson's Maud was originally subtitled as what? The melancholy, the madness, the frenzy and the disorder. So, सेट के पेपर में ये क्वेश्चन आया था. टेनिसन का जो वर्क है, वर्क रिटन बाय टेनिसन Maud originally had a subtitle. What is the name of that subtitle? So, Manisha said A. Let us see. So we have B as the right answer. B as the right answer. A monodrama. It was a monodrama. B, the madness would be the right answer. पहले से read करते हैं. So that of course it was changed as the monodrama. So the poem is deeply intense and a psychological work that examines the theme of love. Theme of love. सबसे पहले उसका टाइटल था. सबसे पहले उसका टाइटल उन्होंने सोचा दैट मैडनेस रखते हैं, बट देन इट वाज चेंज्ड एंड देन द सबटाइटल वाज रिवाइज्ड टू मोनोड्रामा 1855. So Maud, that is a work by Tennyson. It has a new subtitle. It's Monodrama 1855. Okay. And it focuses on the inner psychological turmoil of the person. He thought of writing it with some other title, but then it was revised in 1855 with this subtitle. Who among the following is known as the post-Marxist thinker? Ernest Laclau, Antonio Gramsci, Theodore Adorno and Walter Benjamin. इनमें से कौन से जो राइटर है हमारे पोस्ट मार्क्सिस्ट थिंकर हैं? पोस्ट मार्क्सिस्ट थिंकर है. पोस्ट मार्क्सिस्ट थिंकर. Okay, so A, you think A is the right answer? A is definitely true. He is a post-Marxist thinker. A is right. Okay, who coined the phrase soft capitalism? Who coined the phrase soft capitalism? Althusser? Is it Schlevers, Neg Theft or Terry Eggleton? Okay, so the right answer is 3. I think सबने ही सही दिया था. No, Jeetu, it is not D. It is 3. That is the right answer. So the term soft capitalism was coined by Nagel, who is a British social scientist and economic geographer. It refers to a form of capitalism that emphasizes on flexibility, networks, cultural and soft factors in the economic organizations rather than rigid industrial and financial structures that are already created. So this concept is a contrast to hard capitalism that focuses on strict production and profit maximization concepts. ठीक है, तो ये उससे opposite है. Who among the following considers a text as a site for struggle between authority and popular culture? Who considers the text as a site for struggle between authority and popular culture? Who considers text as a site for struggle? Roland Barthes, Northam Frye, Mikhail Bakhtin and Foucault. So, मनीषा ने सी बोला है, आपने इसका आंसर दिया है मनीषा पहले वाले का. G2 thinks it is D. Okay, let us see the right answer. It is Mikhail Bakhtin. मिखेल भक्तिन को लगता था कि जो टेक्स्ट होता है हमारा वो क्या होता है, इट इज अ साइट फॉर स्ट्रगल बिटवीन अथॉरिटी एंड पॉपुलर कल्चर. अथॉरिटी एंड पॉपुलर कल्चर. मिखेल भक्तिन. सो सी इज द राइट आंसर. मनीषा वॉज राइट. मिखेल भक्तिन. कैन यू टेल मी वन वर्क ऑफ मिखेल भक्तिन? Works of Mikhail Bakhtin with their dates. Can you tell me the works? Works written by Mikhail Bakhtin. So he has written this work called as Problems of Dostoevsky. Problems of Dostoevsky's Poetics. In 1929, Dialogic Imagination, which has 4 essays, 1975, right? These are all important works that he has written. Towards Philosophy of the Act, this is another work published in 1993. So you must know the works written by Bakhtin. चलो, who among the following were revaluing the masses as a source and a subject for literature? ऐसे कौन से हमारे कल्चरल थ्योरिस्ट थे जिन्होंने masses को, the popular mass, the group of people who are called as masses, उन्हें sources बोला था and subject for literature? You know, there is another work that Mikhail Bakhtin has written, Answer and Answerability. Art and Answerability. Posthumously published हुआ था वो. You should also know that. 1990 में publish हुआ है. He gave the concept of chronotope also. Anyway, coming to this question, who among the following were revaluing the masses as the sources and subjects of literature? Manisha thinks it is A. So A is the right answer. It is Richard Hogarth and Raymond Williams who think that the masses are what? They are the sources on which literature and other works are shaped. In which of the following play Shakespeare makes Ulysses expound Elizabethan view of the universe? Cornelius, Troilus and Cressida, Timon of Athens, Julius Caesar. Interesting है ये क्वेश्चन. इसका आंसर दो. In which of the following play Shakespeare make the usage of Ulysses to expound the Elizabethan view of universe? The Elizabethan view of universe. So Manisha is too quick to answer B. Let us see सही है या नहीं है. Anyone else? Okay, so B is the right answer. It is Troilus and Cressida. So in Shakespeare's play Troilus and Cressida, the character Ulysses gives a very famous speech in Act 1, Scene 3, which is an interpretation and where he is going to talk about the Elizabethan worldview. He is also going to talk about the concept of the great chain of being, कि king के ही बच्चे king बनेंगे, वही lineage होनी चाहिए. Okay. So he is going to talk about the great chain of being and the importance of cosmic social order known as degree. So we have B as the right answer. Okay, list 1 with list 2, you need to match these two columns together. So you have Judith Fretley, then Judith Butler, Umberto Eco, and then last you have Tim Woods. Beginning postmodernism, travels in hyperreality, bodies that matter, the resisting reader. Match these words with the authors Judith Fretley, Judith Butler, Umberto Eco and Tim Woods. Okay, Manisha thinks A hoga right answer. Let us see. So A is the right answer. You have Judith Fretley who has written The Resisting Reader and this work came out in 1978. This is a foundational feminist critical work जो कि एक American literature के through लिखा गया है. Patriarchal reading है, women readers कर रही हैं यहाँ पे. That क्या बोला जा रहा है? Women readers must resist patriarchal thinking. Then you have Judith Butler. Judith Butler has written this work Bodies That Matter 1993. This is an extended theory जिसके अंदर उन्होंने gender as a performativity के बारे में बात की है. Okay, so she is trying to explore how bodies are constructed through discourse and through power. Then Umberto Eco, he has written works like Travels in Hyper-Reality. Tell me who has coined the term हाइपर रियलिटी. किसने हाइपर रियलिटी के बारे में बात किया है? दिस वर्क केम आउट इन 1986. Essays on postmodern culture as well as semiotics, simulation, इनके बारे में बात हुई है. Tim Woods has written Beginning Postmodern 1999, which talks about the beginning of the postmodern theory. So A is the right answer. Okay. Can you tell me who is going to talk about hyper-reality? So Baudrillard has talked about hyper-reality, simulation, simulacra. ये सारे उनके concepts हैं, है ना? ये सब उनके concepts हैं. चलो, which of the following works are written by I.A. Richards? Works written by I.A. Richards: Concepts of Criticism, Science and Poetry, The Philosophy of Rhetoric, English Literature in Our Time and the University. North ने C बोला है. That means you think science and poetry and the philosophy of rhetoric are the words written by I.A. Richards. Okay, if you are right, then आप मुझे इनकी dates भी बताओ. Dates बताओ. Science and poetry 1926. 1926. Philosophy of rhetoric 1936. 1936. These are the works written by I.A. Richards. I.A. Richards. Okay, so next, in Toni Morrison's Beloved, the character of Setha is haunted by the ghost of her dead child, symbolizing what? So, जब Beloved के अंदर जो हमारी protagonist है, she is scared. Why? Because she thinks she is haunted. The house also was spiteful and haunted because उनकी जो child थी, उनको लग रहा था वो एक ghost है. Now this symbolizes what? ये किस चीज को सिंबलाइज करता है? The dead child symbolizes what? The inevitability of death, कि सबको death आ ही जानी है. The guilt and the unresolved personal conflicts, the breakdown of family and community, and the historical trauma of slavery. So the historical trauma of slavery, because अगर वो दोबारा से, it is D, that is the right answer. D होगा, not B. सो आई थिंक जीतू ने गलती से बी बोला है. सो यहाँ पे वो बात क्या कर रही थी, किस तरीके से हमारी बॉडीज के अंदर ट्रॉमा स्टोर हो जाता है. शी इज रिएक्टिंग टू दैट ट्रॉमा, लुकिंग एट द घोस्ट, द स्पाइटफुल फिगर ऑफ द डेड चाइल्ड. ओके, उनकी बॉडी पे भी यू सॉ ना, कि आपने रीड करी होगी नॉवल, पूरे ऐसे ब्रांचेस जैसे मार्क थे ट्रीज जैसे. दैट इज ऑल्सो सिंबलाइजिंग द ट्रॉमा दैट इज स्टोर्ड इन अ ह्यूमन बॉडी. ओके, चलो नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन देखते हैं. गिवन बिलो यू हैव टू स्टेटमेंट्स. हैरोल्ड ब्लूम्स द एंजाइटी ऑफ इन्फ्लुएंस, a theory of poetry, proposes that strong poets misread their precursors in an agnostic struggle, producing new works through a poetic misprison. Then you have the next statement, statement 2. Frank Kermode, the work that he has written, The Sense of an Ending, studies in the theory of fiction, argues that readers impose meaningful patterns of beginning, middle and end on fictions in order to make sense of an living in the midst of the time. Statement 1. Harold Bloom's The Anxiety of Influence, a theory of poetry, proposes that strong poets misread their precursors in an agnostic struggle, producing new works through a poetic misprison. Statement 2. Frank Kermode's The Sense of an Ending, studies in the theory of fiction, argues that readers impose meaningful patterns of beginning, middle and end in the midst of the end on fictitious in order to make a sense of living in the midst of the time. Are both the statements true? कोई false भी है इनमें से? So, Anxiety of Influence, written by Harold Bloom, 1973. You are right, North. पर right answer क्या होगा? So, you think A, both the statements are correct. I think you said A. Okay, सबने A ही बोला है. So, A is the right answer. Both the statements are correct. We have statement 1. This is also correct. The Anxiety of Influence. This is a work written by Bloom. In which year? In 1973. 1973. And The Sense of an Ending. The Sense of an Ending. This is a work written by Frank in 1967. 1967, and A is the right answer. Both of them are correct, right? So, Anxiety of Influence के अंदर Harold Bloom ने क्या कहा था? We misinterpret the writings that are done by the previous generation, और वो हम लोग तभी ठीक, और ये क्या होता है, एक क्योंकि हम एक प्रिजन में अपने आप को फील करते हैं, उसकी वजह से होता है. So he gives this example of misprisonment. This is a term also that he talks about. Which of the following books by Harold Bloom first sets out his revisionary theory of poetic influence through the concepts such as Clenemen, Teresa, and Niconosis? Which of the following books by Harold Bloom first sets out his revisionary theory of poetic influence through concepts like Clemena, Teresa, and Kenosis? Okay, so the Western canon, the anxiety of influence, deconstruction and criticism, a map of representation, these are the works written by him. And the anxiety of influence, a theory of poetry is the right answer. 1973 का work है जब इन्होंने इन concepts के बारे में बात करी है. Okay, so you guys are correct. B is the right answer. Okay. Okay, Steve Men's work in Blue Humanities argues that oceans and seas should be understood as dynamic, unpredictable environments that shape human culture rather than a passive backdrops of terrestrial history. Then Stacy L. Nemo, concepts of transcorporeality highlights the material interconnections between human bodies, marine environments, stressing the toxic flows and oceanic ecologies that traverse the bodily boundaries. In the light of these two statements, choose the right answer. Are both true or any of these statements is false? Hello Kavya. How are you? So, सबने अभी तक काव्या ने आंसर दिया है, जल्दी जल्दी बताओ आंसर क्या होगा. Steve Men's, who is going to talk about blue humanities. Stacy Elimo, who talks about transcorporeality. Okay, so A is the right answer. Both of them are true. It is Men's who developed the idea that oceans are active. Either they play an active role, they should be read like characters itself. They also have a transformative role and key critical vocabulary के अंदर उनको हमें add करना चाहिए. Then you have the next statement, that is Elimo's statement, transcorporeality. It also explicitly talks about how bodies and environments are all intermingled together and they should be read together only. और वो human boundaries को transgress भी करते हैं. Okay, so A is right. Kavya and Jeetu were correct. So ocean studies, blue humanities के बारे में भी थोड़ा सा read करना है. Okay, who is credited as the creator of the term graphic novel? Is it Alan Moore, Neil Gaiman, Will Eisner and Stan Lee? Who is the one who talks about graphic novel? He is the one who is credited to be the creator of the term. So C is the right answer. C right answer है इसका. It is Will Eisner who is credited to be the one who started to talk about graphic novels first. Okay. ठीक है. If in a ballad a line of a stanza is repeated but in an additional that advances the story, it is called as. अगर एक ballad के अंदर a line of a stanza is repeated but with an addition that advances the story forward, it is called as referential repetition, incremental repetition, anaphora or refrain. In a ballad, if a stanza is repeated, say a line is repeated and it is adding to the story, it is called as. So it is called as an incremental repetition. This is a specific type of repetition that is used in folk ballads. A line or a stanza is repeated with a minor significant changes, addition, जो कि आपके narrative को forward लेके जाती है. आपके narrative को आगे लेके जाती है. So B would be the right answer. Okay, which of the following is a short story collection by an Indian author? इनमें से कौन सा वर्क किसी इंडियन ऑथर का है? Which of the following is a short story collection by an Indian author? After the Quack, Breast Stories, The Stories of Eva Luna, The Moons of Jupiter. सी इंडियन राइटर की स्टोरी है, ये शॉर्ट स्टोरी कलेक्शन है. ओके, आई एम श्योर ये सबको पता है. We have B as the right answer. Breast stories is the right answer. Breast stories. So After the Quack is a short story collection by Murakami. So ये Japanese writer है. And you should also know the short story collection as well as the writers that are there. So Murakami. Then Breast stories, which is the right answer. This is by an Indian writer and this is a short story collection by Maheshwata Devi. The Stories of Eva Luna, this is by Isabel, who is a Chilean writer. And then The Moons of Jupiter, this is a short story collection by Alice Munro, who is a Canadian writer. तो B is the right answer. Now, जरूरी ये नहीं था कि हम लोग ये जाने कि आंसर क्या है, बाकी सारे राइटर्स भी इंपॉर्टेंट हैं, इसलिए हमने ये क्वेश्चन लिया था. So you have to study the short story collections and the dates of these collections as well. ठीक है, चलो ये भी बहुत इजी क्वेश्चन है. इन एन इंडियन इंग्लिश, सो एन इंडियन इंग्लिश पोएट once remarked that his discipline and education gave him his outer form, whereas his Indian origin gave him his inner form. Reflecting part of this claim is the title of one of his favorite or his famous essays as well. This is which essay? Is there an Indian way of thinking? Can the subaltern speak? Where do we go from here? Some speculations. And is there an Indian way of thinking? Is there a native way of thinking? Is there an Indian way of thinking? An Indian English poet once remarked that his discipline and education gave him his outer form, whereas his Indian origin gave him the inner form. एंड ये किसने बोला है ये भी बताओ. Who said this? Okay, so D would be the right answer. D right answer होगा. D would be the right answer. मनीषा is right. काव्या ने A क्यों बोला है? क्योंकि A के अंदर एक गलती थी काव्या, जो मैंने भी मिसस्पेल करा था वैसे. Is there an Indian way of thinking? This is an essay by A.K. Ramanujan that was published in 1989 and this explores his distinct way of thinking. राइट, जिसके अंदर उन्होंने कहा था कि वो बहुत ज्यादा क्या कर रहे हैं, इंडियनाइज्ड है, और उन्हें अपने बारे में पूरा एक्सप्लेन किया था उसके अंदर हाउ ही इज नेगोशिएटिंग विद द वेस्टर्न कल्चर दैट इज देयर. ही एक्सप्लोर्स द आइडिया ऑफ अ डिस्टिंक्शन ऑफ एन इंडियन वे ऑफ थिंकिंग, arguing that it is characterized by more flexibility, more context sensitive writings and more willingness to hold the perspective. ठीक है, सो इट इज डी दैट इज द राइट आंसर. यहाँ पे नेटिव वे लिख दिया था, दिस इज रॉन्ग. कैन द सबॉल्टन भी नहीं है और ये भी नहीं है, सो डी इज द राइट आंसर. चलो, हु in The World as India argues that English can be the only common unifying language of India. Who in The World as India has said that English can be the only unifying language that can be used? Only unifying language. Who in The World as India argues that English can be the only common unifying language? Anthony Burgess, 𝐃𝐫𝐢𝐬𝐡𝐭𝐢, Noam Chomsky, Susan Sontag, and also tell me the works and the dates of this writer. Other works. ओके, सो जीतू ने मुझे ए बोला है, और कोई? ठीक है, सो इट इज Susan Sontag. Susan Sontag in her essay that came out in 1982, The World as India, Susan Sontag uses this term and she is going to talk about and she is going to highlight how English is something that brings us all together. and अगर हमने English use नहीं करी तो हम लोग क्या करेंगे, properly एक दूसरे से communicate नहीं कर पाएंगे, because that's the only language that can unify us now. that can unify us now. So Susan Sontag. While C.K. Ogden himself is a very important name, C.K. Ogden भी please पढ़ना, उनका I.A. Richards के साथ work है The Meaning of Meanings, that is also very important. Basic English के लिए he is very famous, ये भी बहुत बार पेपर में आते हैं. While Susan Sontag तो important है ही, isn't it? एंथनी बर्जेस नहीं है, काव्या ने शायद ए बोला था मुझे. ओके चलो. In Kachru's 3 circles of English, the categories are easy. कौन से 3 circles के बारे में बात की है ब्रजबी कचरू ने? In Kachru's 3 circles of English, the categories are central, middle, peripheral, primary, secondary, tertiary, inner, outer, expanding, inner, middle, outer. क्या होगा राइट आंसर? ब्रजबी कचरू ने 3 कंसेंट्रिक सर्कल्स के बारे में बात करी, हाउ इंग्लिश इज यूज्ड. अब वो तीनों कैटेगरीज कौन सी थी? Okay, so it is 3, that is the right answer. Inner, outer and expanding cultures. तो inner circle वो culture होता है inner जिनकी English first language है. फिर जो second language use करते हैं वो outer, और expanding होता है जो सिर्फ commercial purposes के लिए ही use करते हैं. Okay, so USA, UK वो यहाँ पे inner में आएंगे, वो inner है. While जो आपका अगर इंडिया हो गया, सिंगापुर हो गया, वो आपके outer है ना. वाइल रशिया, जापान यहां आएगा एक्सपैंडिंग, वो सिर्फ ट्रेड पर्पस, वर्क पर्पस इनके लिए यूज करते हैं. सो 3 इज द राइट आंसर. काव्या इज राइट हेयर. ओके ठीक है. द कोठारी कमीशन सजेस्टेड व्हाट? कोठारी कमीशन ने क्या सजेस्ट किया था? इंग्लिश एज लिंक लैंग्वेज फॉर ट्रांसलेशन, इंग्लिश एज लाइब्रेरी लैंग्वेज फॉर साइंस, टेक्नोलॉजी, कॉमर्स, research in India only in English, and university teachers must speak and write in English. कोठारी कमीशन. Okay, so B answers आ रहे हैं. So B is the right answer. English को उन्होंने क्या कहा था? It should be termed as a library language, जिसके अंदर हम साइंस, टेक्नोलॉजी, कॉमर्स के बारे में भी बात करेंगे. कोठारी कमीशन कब आया था? 1964 से 66. It recommended the studying of English primarily as a library language so that it can give us more global knowledge, and you know it will also be promoted as the mother tongue instruction at the early age of the early stages as well, so that हम उसे globally सीख के बोल सके. Which statement is not true about NEP 2020? Recommends high quality materials in Indian languages, recommends early implementation of 3 language formula, recommends English as the only medium at the elementary level, and recommend teaching in local languages wherever possible. काव्या ने कहा है सी. एनीवन एल्स? मनीषा थिंग्स बी. ओके, सो 3 वुड बी द राइट आंसर, मतलब सी सही है. इट रिकमेंड्स इंग्लिश एज द ओनली मीडियम एट द एलिमेंटरी लेवल. क्या कहा था एंड हमें क्या बताना था इसके अंदर? Which of this is not true? Which of this is not true बताना था. तो इन्होंने ये नहीं कहा है कि इंग्लिश ओनली मीडियम होना चाहिए. NEP 2020 emphasizes on multilingual education with mother tongue or regional languages as a preferred medium through grade 5 and additional, and ideally उसको grade 8 तक लेके जाना चाहिए, not English. Okay, Thomas Macaulay, the writer of the Minutes that came out in 1835, finds a mention in Salman Rushdie's work. किस वर्क के अंदर लॉर्ड मैकॉले, थॉमस मैकॉले के बारे में बात हुई है? इज इट मिडनाइट्स चिल्ड्रन, शेम, द मूज लास्ट साई, और इज इट फ्यूरी? Okay, so literature simplified says it is C. G2 thinks it is C as well. What do you think, Kavya, Manisha? Is it C? Okay, everyone thinks it is C. Okay, so it is Moor's Last Sigh. Moor's Last Sigh is a novel that is written by Salman Rushdie that intervenes the personal saga of its protagonist with the Indian history. The novel is narrated by Maurice Moore, who is a character, where you also see Macaulay being one character and one time referred in that work, and he is satirizing this man. Which of the following magazine aim at depicting concern of girls who embrace the tenets of girl culture, the girlhood? Sassy, Bus, Bitch, Ophelia Speaks, Colonize This. Which of the following magazines aim at depicting concerns of girls who embrace the tenets of girl culture, the girlhood? देखते हैं इसका आंसर कौन सही देता है. A with a question mark. You think it is sassy? Girls are sassy. I think so. Right answer क्या होगा? जल्दी गर्ल्स आंसर करेंगी, फिर हम आंसर देखेंगे. Manisha thinks it is A2. What about Kavya? चलो, so you have actually options नहीं दिए थे मैंने, क्योंकि I wanted to talk about this question a little bit. So options नहीं थे आपके पास, इसमें एक से ज्यादा आंसर्स करेक्ट थे. A, B and C are the right answers. So Sassy, Bus, Bitch are the feminist-oriented magazines that focus on teen and young adult women voices, embracing alternative culture. While Ophelia Speaks and Colonize This are books and not magazines, and though they have this similar theme and they are talking about female empowerment, but magazines कौन सी हैं? A, B and C. So this was something new. So all of you are correct. At least A तो definitely है, but the right answer would be A, B and C. I deliberately thought of not including the answers because we can talk about it a little bit more. इसलिए ठीक है. So तीनों ही सही हैं. You have Sassy, Bust as well as Bitch. Okay. And Ophelia Speaks and Colonize This books है. तो इसको स्टार मार्क कर देते हैं. सब लोग इसके बारे में थोड़ा सा और रीड करेंगे. इट इज इम्पोर्टेंट एज वेल. ठीक है ना. चलो ओके, ये क्वेश्चन आई थिंक हमने कल कर लिया था, इसको हम छोड़ देते हैं. आ जाते हैं यहाँ पे. ओके, यू हैव टू अरेंज द वर्क्स ऑफ भवानी भट्टाचार्य इन द करेक्ट क्रोनोलॉजिकल ऑर्डर. Arrange the works of Bhavani Bhattacharya according to the dates of their publication. Goddess Named Gold, Music of Mohini, Shadow from Ladakh, So Many Hungers, He Who Rides a Tiger. Okay, A बोला है मुझे. So Many Hungers, which is the first major work written by him. So Many Hungers. तो D सबसे पहले होना चाहिए, and because of this, we think that this should be the right answer. Can you tell me the dates, everyone? Dates बताओ पहले. So Many Hungers, 1947. 1947. He Who Rides the Tiger. He Who Rides the Tiger. 1952. 1952. Yes, Kavya. So Many Hungers, 1947. Music of Mohini, 54. Is it 54? 54 शैडो फ्रॉम लद्दाख, 66 एंड गॉडेस नेम गोल्ड का भी बता दो, गॉडेस नेम गोल्ड 1960, 1960। अब चेक करते हैं आंसर, लेट अस चेक, यही होने चाहिए हमारे पास ऑप्शंस। सो वी हैव डी सबसे पहले, डी सो मेनी हंगर्स, उसके बाद वी हैव ई ही हु राइड्स द टाइगर। तो यहाँ पे हमेशा इन ऑप्शंस में गलती होती है जब भी क्रोनोलॉजी वाले में होते हैं, इसलिए हम ऐसे ही सॉल्व करेंगे, we'll solve like this। then आपके पास E आएगा, उसके बाद आएगा आपके पास B, then you have A and then C। so it is D, D, E, B, A, C। ठीक है, हमेशा कुछ ना कुछ ऑप्शंस वाले में आई थिंक रॉन्ग होता ही है। Okay, Barbara Smith in her essay Towards a Black Feminist Criticism raises concern for A. Only black women, black lesbian women, black women in the white world only, black lesbian women amongst black women vis-a-vis the white women, black and white women together as they have universal concerns। What would be the right answer? I hope पहले वाला क्वेश्चन सबने ओके, मनीषा ने आंसर भी कर दिया है। मनीषा थिंक्स इट इज सी। Barbara Smith in her essay Towards the Black Feminist Criticism raises concern for whom? Okay, so Barbara Smith's essay raises concern for the only black women, which is not specific enough, black lesbian women, that is a very specific concern, black women in the white world only, which is not very comprehensible, black lesbian women amongst black women vis-a-vis the white women, black and white women together as they have universal concerns, So the right answer would be 1, B and D, ठीक है, 1 is the right answer। Okay, this would be, can I give you this as the homework? ठीक है, which article of Indian Constitution related to the previous to this provision relating to the official language of the Union is termed as an important article where इंग्लिश को हम लोगों ने क्या देखा था, ऑफिशियल लैंग्वेज बोला गया था। ऐसा कौन सा आर्टिकल है इंडियन कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन का जहां पे इंग्लिश को ऑफिशियल लैंग्वेज ऑफ यूनियन बोला गया? इज इट आर्टिकल 342, आर्टिकल 343, 344, 345 एंड 346? ओके, सो काव्या हैज ऑलरेडी गिवन द आंसर, बट चेक करते हैं आपका सही है या नहीं है। काव्या कर ले चेक, और डू यू वांट दिस एज अ होमवर्क? सो बी एंड सी आर द राइट आंसर। इट इज 343 एंड 345, बी एंड सी। सो यू आर राइट हेयर। अच्छा नहीं, आपने 343 एंड 344 का था, है ना? ठीक है, तो इसको होमवर्क लो, थिंक अबाउट इट, लेट अस टॉक अबाउट दिस इन द नेक्स्ट क्लास। आई डू हैव टू फिनिश द क्लास। ठीक है, take this as your homework and we will talk about it in the next class. ठीक है, I hope to see you in the next class where we will talk about more questions that are important for the examinations point of view. So thank you, have a wonderful day, and I shall see you in the next class. Bye bye.